Oh no.
It's a cultural divide. I'ma get it on the floor.
You really about to do it?
40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Then get on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like.
Welcome back to another episode of Culture Collabs, where our mission is to inspire today's youth and tomorrow's future. I'm your host, Jeremy Campbell, and tonight we will be sitting down and talking on Zoom with an American Paralympian, member of Team USA, three-time world champion, and five-time Olympic gold medalist. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce to you Jeremy Campbell. There you are. Can you
What's
hear
up, buddy?
me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Jeremy, first I want to start off by saying thank you for showing your support on our mission to inspire the youth. I know a lot of your story, but some of our viewers might not. So can you give our viewers a little backstory on yourself and your remarkable career?
Yeah. No, I was born with fibular hemophilia, which is a birth deficiency in my leg. And so at the age of 1, I had my right leg amputated below the knee. And so I took my first step on a prosthesis, and that's all I've ever known. Grew up in the Texas Panhandle where sports were life. Grew up with athletic brothers who played all different kinds of sports. And so I naturally gravitated towards sports, even though I had a prosthetic. Growing up the Texas Panhandle with a cowboy and an upstate New York mom, I had some grit to me.
I like that.
And so I just found that sports were something that I wanted to, that most kids pursue, um, and played all different sports for football, basketball, a little bit of baseball, and ran track and field, various events. And then my sophomore, junior year in high school is when I had heard about the Paralympics and didn't really know what it was because back then, this is 2003. I mean, to see how far the sport's come in 20 years is insane. And so there was very little knowledge and visibility with the sport back then. And I decided to go to a little competition, actually here now where I live in Edmond, Oklahoma, called the Endeavor Games. And that was kind of my introductory competition to the whole sport world of Paralympic sports and disabled sports. And right after high school, I had the opportunity to move out to the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista, California, and trained for my first Paralympic Games. So trained for my debut Paralympics from '06 to '08 and went over to China. And it's been kind of just that same cycle every 4 years. Just been doing track and field for the last almost nearly 20 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You left one little part out there. You went to China and dominated. Okay, because then you walk away with that with gold.
Yeah, I walked away with 2. So my
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Two.
In Paralympic 2008 Paralympics, I went there with I made the team for 3 different events. My main one was the pentathlon. So in the Paralympics we had up to 2008 half the deca, and it was the pentathlon, consisted of 5 different events, and so that's what my main event was, the one I first qualified in. And I won that and broke the world record in the pentathlon. And then I also qualified for the discus open and long jump. I think I got 4th in the long jump, and then I won discus as well.
This next one, your story is a true reflection of resilience. Can you tell our youth about the importance of being resilient when chasing your dreams and how it has helped you over your career become so successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think resilience looks different at different stages of the game. And so when I was younger, especially, in the prime of my career, resilience really was just setting yourself up with that mindset that there are no excuses. And that was instilled into me from a very young age, how I was raised and in the environment I was raised, where there just was no excuses. And I knew that I was going to have to adapt and possibly do things a little bit different than others. And even with having to adapt, though, it was kind of minor. But having that resilience to push through and find adaptations that worked for me really fostered that resilient spirit to overcome unique challenges as someone with a prosthetic faces that are they're big over time, and a lot of people might not think about them, but you definitely have to overcome the obstacles of having a disability, obviously, and so those are unique to everyone's different disability. But really, it just came down to that mindset of, hey, I'm not a victim to this, and I can do anything that I set my mind to. I might have to change a little bit, do things a little bit different, or I might have to work a little bit harder at something. I look at discus, and I'm a passionate pusher of drills and fundamentals, um, because have most of my career, all of my career, my biggest competitors were not amputees. And one of the things that is so important to the discus is having stability. And how do you have stability over a leg that is a prosthesis where you have no ankle mobility, you don't have a calf, and so you have to find that stability. And so I knew that I had to drill a lot more. I had to become excellent in these drills that created this foundation for balance. And so, and now resilience looks a little bit different to me at this stage of the game, latter part of my career. Um, but yeah, I think at first it's just so important to have that mindset that um, as long as you set your mind up to it and you don't have any excuses, then you can do anything.
I love that. And I'm going to build on something you said there about overcoming the obstacles. They're not always physical, sometimes they're mental. And this next part, we're going to kind of get into that. I want to read you something here. People often assume that missing my right leg is the biggest challenge I've faced, but it's not even close. The real challenge wasn't physical. It was rewriting the invisible story I told myself about what being disabled meant and what level I was capable of performing at. The real challenge isn't what's visible, it's the invisible stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of that keep us from trying, stepping out, or even imagining a life beyond our current limits. Stories of shame and guilt stories that tell us that we aren't good enough, too different to belong, that we are unlovable, or that we are complete failures. The good news is we all have the power to rewrite our stories. These are words that should sound familiar to you because these are your words. I find a lot of relation to this statement as I've gone through my own battles over the years of trying to manage my own mental illness and disability with CMT. I'm sure there's a young kid out there right now that is feeling the same exact way both you and I have once felt. What is something you can tell them that you hope they can hear about the importance of our self talk and the true power of self love?
Yeah. I think I'll precede it with telling that person um, that may find some resonance in the words that I wrote there that you just read, that first off, you are not alone. I think that is probably the most important thing I can say to anyone finding themselves in familiar territory in the context of what you read, because I think a lot of times I'm very impressed with the questions that you have, because usually these type of interviews over the course of my life, as far as Jeremy Campbell, the athlete, is really about this bootstrap stuff where, kind of what we just talked about, mindset, no excuses, overcome adversity, resilience, raw. Um, and that stuff came easy. I adapted really quick. And the external thing, I can work harder, as hard as anyone else. And I will push myself until I puke in the trash can every day, until my leg is bloody. No, doesn't matter how of a great prosthetic it is, has nothing to do that. I will just push myself. That stuff was very easy to me. Adapting was very easy to me. And so a lot of times in these scenarios, in these conversations, people tend to like ask those questions and we never go deeper. And we never get to explore the more complicated under the surface things that are going on. And so a lot of times when you hear athletes talk, it's kind of that bootstrap stuff. And it's just so anemic that it really isn't. There's a whole person behind that dealing with other things, very real things. And so what you just see in that message of bootstrap stuff isn't the whole truth. And that's part of my motivation as I become more expressive and just putting some stuff out there that I write. I love to write. Is that there's more to the truth. There's more to the story. So you are not alone. Even the greatest athletes struggle with these things. Um, and the importance of self-love is really everything. I turned 38 this year in August, and I'm still currently like unwrapping the idea of self-love and how that looks in a practical, mental, and emotional way of experiencing life, because that is my story. Is no matter what container, if it wasn't sports, it was going to be something else, because I had this belief in myself that I had to perform for love, that I had to be good enough in whatever endeavor it was. And really, that's what kind of track and field was for me, or is. Or up to that point, I'm learning. I haven't retired yet, so I'm saying it was for me. Is this pursuit of self, of acceptance? And what I've discovered is that you will never perform your way out of a wrong belief about yourself. The dissonance just keeps getting more tumultuous. It gets more thick. The friction gets heavier because eventually it just crashes and burns. And so that's a really deep thing to navigate. I think it's been cool that I've had such a long career that I'm able to stand in this place as a person and still be in the sport and be able to look at all I've learned. Um, and the perspective that I have on the sport and about life and about younger, inspiring the youth. Because I think a good leader and a good coach really does never, he looks beyond the athlete and sees the person. And a lot of times when we don't understand that there's a human behind this stuff that deals with these things, it's very easy to exploit and manipulate what we call the hunger to prove themselves or to do something. And so I've just been wrestling with that more and more. And so um, it is an interesting journey to find that self love, and to realize that it does not come by performing more. That story must be rewritten, and there's no better way than just doing a 180 and believing the opposite.
100%. And
I
I'm
hope
gonna
that
go.
answers your question.
No, that was amazing answer. And the reality of it is, right now I'm reading a book. You might have already read it before. It's called Inner Excellence. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It blew up in the Philly area because one of our AJ Brown was reading it on the sideline. It talks about rewriting the story. Okay. I've had that same problem for a long time. Some of the biggest battles for me have came from within. Okay. The importance of self-talk for me today. Listen, I'm still not, I wouldn't say I'm cured. I'm fixed. I'm the most loving towards myself. I'm probably my biggest critic. Have I learned over the years how to cope with it? Have I learned how to look in the mirror and talk nice to myself instead of negatively? Yes, I have, because a lot of times I'd look in the mirror and I'd beat myself up.
When you're rewriting it's not, I'm rewriting it and I'll be always rewriting it. And it's imperative to understand to have compassion on yourself while you're doing that. Because as an athlete, I think there's this model that a friend recently told me about, and it's about you have preparation and for whatever you have in life over here, and then you have, let's just look at it linear, and then you have the performance, whatever it is. And usually, what happens is we care the most at the wrong time and care the least at the wrong time. And at the end is when we should care the least, have compassion on ourselves, and that's usually where we beat ourselves up. And then it just creates a cycle that's just, you
Revolving door.
never will overcome being mean to yourself. And I had set such high expectations of myself. To be 100% honest, every time that I would win another, I've won 5 Paralympic gold medals. I have multiple world records. Um, every single time after that, because I viewed at them through this lens, they were never good enough. And at the times where I should have been so congratulatory and rewarding and compassionate and loving towards myself was the moment that I was the most ridiculously critical of myself because it was never good enough. I would always find something that would prove that it was not good enough. And I would just criticize myself. And I lived in a cycle of shame like that. And just that criticism was a cycle of self-hatred. And so
Self-talk.
I was
Self-talk. That's the
net,
self-talk.
oh yeah, yeah. And it is the hardest thing to, because a lot of times that voice is so comfortable, to get out of it feels completely counterfeit, to believe the opposite.
Scary.
You're like, whoa, who am I to think of myself like that? And so um, it's a very interesting journey. And so um, the full circle, compassion is just something that I'm still learning.
You've accomplished what some athletes will chase their entire life and never achieve, and you've done it 5 times. Looking back on your career, do you ever remember times when you felt like throwing in the towel and giving up? And in those times, what did you have to do to tell yourself to stay motivated and keep pushing forward and chasing your dreams?
I think like the towel that I wanted to throw in was, I realized that this wasn't fulfilling the pain inside of me. And so why continue and ante up if this wasn't um like, it became very, very real, real to me and apparent that winning another medal was not going to be the balm that soothed, like, that what I needed was to feel better about myself. I became very aware of that in the past few years. And so when I went to Paris, I really was in a mindset to just be there as present as possible. Don't worry about the outcome, and just try to be present and love the moment with all my family and friends and coach and teammates that were there. Um, but on the day to day, it's really, there's often times where you just get tired of the work, and it is a grind. I mean, we're talking about Paralympics, Olympics, it's every 4 years. I mean, yeah, do I want to throw in the towel? I mean, I look at 2016 where I completely crashed and burned because my entire inner world was changing and I didn't even get on the podium. So I did want to throw in the towel big time. And I guess I told myself I wanted to. It was a journey, but I didn't want that to be. the final say of what my departure from the sport was going to look like. I said, I know I've got more in me. Let's go prove it to yourself and just keep going. And I think a lot of times you just have to trust the process and take one step at a time.
Okay, we are getting to the end here, and this is a fun part we like to do for the kids. We call it rapid fire to inspire. I will ask you 6 rapid fire style questions to close us out. Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm not good at rapid. I'm a thinker, so we'll give it our best shot. I'm ready.
What is Jeremy Campbell's favorite candy?
Skittles.
Ooh,
Laffy Taffy. Laffy Taffy.
ooh, solid. What is your favorite world record title you hold?
Discus.
We ask this one to everyone, and you have a lot of pressure because right now one of them's 4-0. Would you pick a cheese steak or cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger. I know you're Philly. It's cheesesteak, but I'm cheeseburger. I love cheesesteaks with cheeseburger, my man.
I'm going to put the Michael Jordan meme up, man. What is your favorite Olympic event ever?
Paris.
Paris?
Yeah. No, yeah, Paris. No, there's so many. Yeah, Paris.
We also ask this one to all our guests, but we have to. It's for the culture. You going Team Drake or Team Kendrick?
Kendrick.
That's right. He's 4-0 too now. Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you tonight, and I can't express enough gratitude for you taking the time to show your support on our mission. We always offer our guests the opportunity to promote any business or brands they may be trying to build. So tell our viewers where they can find and follow any of your content.
You can find me on my Instagram, on my Facebook. Sometimes I post some stuff, but it's been a pleasure talking with you. I appreciate it. It's been cool.
I appreciate you, brother. I'm your host, Jeremy Campbell. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and follow, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Culture Collabs.
Oh no,
It's a cultural divide. I'ma get it on the flow.
you really about to do it?
40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
They get on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back